For years, global climate diplomacy operated on a simple, optimistic currency: promises. Nations set ambitious targets, announced massive financial pledges, and measured their success by the scale of their stated intentions. In mid-August 2026, the global review machinery caught up with political rhetoric. Multiple accountability instruments, from national parliamentary auditors to UN technical bodies, published their findings in a single week. This chart conceptualizes what those reports revealed. We are seeing a stark, mathematically verified difference between the bright blue line of political commitment and the red line of actual physical delivery that crashes downwards. Practitioners call this the delivery gap. Pledges no longer stand in for performance. The global system now documents failures as efficiently as it once recorded pledges. The first major casualty of this scrutiny arrived on August 13th in the Indian Parliament. The Comptroller and Auditor General tabled an independent performance audit of the country's flagship Green India mission. This bar chart visualizes the massive discrepancy the auditors found. Against a target of 1.4 million hectares of new forest cover, the state achieved just 0.034 million hectares. That is a 98% shortfall, despite consuming nearly half of its approved financial outlay. Developed nations faced the same scrutiny. That week, Canada's own progress indicators showed they had conserved only 13.8% of their terrestrial area, stalling far short of their highly publicized 30% commitment. The review stack now tells the difference between a funding gap in India and an absorption gap in Canada, identifying exactly how a promise becomes an empty promise. Amid these global shortfalls, the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change quietly published a highly technical, expert-analyzed annex that provided a rare data point for success. The document laid out a specific, verified result. Between 2020 and 2023, Costa Rica successfully erased 9.4 million tons of carbon dioxide equivalent. UN experts verified this as a sovereign reality, distinguishing it from the uncertainty of modeled estimates or corporate self-reporting. This raises a central question. How exactly did Costa Rica engineer a mathematically sound, internationally verified success while major global powers are auditing catastrophic failures? The answer lies in the specific mechanism behind that number. It's called National MRV, Measurement, Reporting, and Verification, operating under the UN REDD+ framework. This graph illustrates MRV's first step, establishing an assessed reference level. This dotted line defines historical emissions without intervention. Step 2 tracks actual emissions against this baseline. The solid line dropping below proves the forest became a net sink, isolating the 9.4 million tons saved. True climate accounting requires this strict, audited baseline. To get credit for what did happen, you have to scientifically prove what didn't. But a technical accounting rule cannot grow a tree. The UN math is only possible because of the physical reality on the ground. This UN validation is the final, visible layer of a forest policy system built over decades. It relies entirely on rigorous domestic forest laws. Costa Rica enforced those laws while deploying direct payments for ecosystem services to landowners, creating a legible, trackable reality. A verified UN number is the lagging indicator of long-term legal enforcement and strict financial governance. Not all claims carry this kind of weight. Costa Rica's result rests on strict national-level sovereign verification, which sits at the top of a hierarchy of proof. Compare that to BTG Pactual's recent claim of having more than 20,000 hectares of Brazil's Cerrado under restoration. While it's a massive undertaking, this metric relies on corporate self-reporting and third-party trackers rather than a sovereign audit. Documented status is not a simple yes or no question. Assurance has grades, and the specific grade of that assurance determines the legitimacy of the outcome. In a landscape defined by audited performance, a review is a rule that makes delivery legible, and legibility is the absolute prerequisite for securing finance. As nations travel to the high-stakes biodiversity summits in Mongolia and Armenia, these brutal audits will travel with them, determining the success of the negotiations. Governments and investors must now design against the documented gap, not the stated ambition. Partial but verified delivery will now always carry more weight than a complete but unverified promise.